And tell me about tips we could add to Treasurer Wayne Swan's list of how you can save money. He was being given, if you pardon the expression, the rounds to the kitchen in the Parliament for the tips on his website, which include shopping around, shop around, asking store managers to meet competitors' prices, and shopping during quiet times. Is that for them or for you? Now, certain people have ridiculed Mr. Swan's tips. The opposition is saying is hopelessly out of touch. My own view, and it may not be typical, is I don't actually need politicians to be telling me this stuff. Leave me alone, please. Keep the coastline safe, build some roads, and if you can do something to, by, say, reducing your take, bring down the price of petrol, I'd be well pleased. As for tips on whether or not I should be examining the weight on a packet in the supermarket, I'll do that myself, or not. That's my view. But as I say, I may not be typical. For a broader view, I'm turning to Scott Driscoll, Retailers Association Executive Director. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. What do you think about Mr. Swan and his tips?
Oh, Mike, I'm with you. I think we are fairly typical, though, of people's cynicism on this. I was just absolutely floored when I saw that YouTube and also on Mr. Swan's own website in his home electorate of Lilly. You've got a list there of things that say, in addition to what you've just outlined, try to shop for bargains, try to shop for specials. I mean, this is the Treasurer of the Commonwealth of Australia, treating consumers and retailers like idiots.
Trying to shop for bargains. Yeah, words to live by from one of our leading politicians, eh?
Absolutely. I mean, we're actually representing thousands of independent retailers nationwide, and the real push that we've got is to push prices down, to provide good pricing competition to the Coles-Woolworths duopoly. This is the same treasurer, I've got to say, who has for years put the Coles and Woolworths best prices from the previous month on his own website. No mention of independent retailers. And this is the same treasurer who in budget papers too, we discovered a few weeks back, is wanting to allocate $13 million of working Australians' money to creating a taxpayer-funded website to do the same for Coles and Woolworths.
It's all about Coles and Woolworths. It's all about the duopoly.
It is, and I've got to say, Mike, we've got the highest food inflation rate in the entire OECD as a result of this duopoly. This duopoly controls 80%. Now, in the UK, for example, you've got to get up to 5 or 6 players before you get anywhere near 80%. We've got these statistics that we can't be proud of. We've got to be showing the government that the highest food inflation rate in the OECD is unacceptable. The only country in the OECD that has a higher food inflation rate than the general inflation rate. These are the sorts of things the Treasurer needs to get his teeth into, not shopping tips. I mean, next thing we're going to hear about how to catch the bus to the supermarket or how to find a way in and out of the car park. I mean, we don't need to hear about that.
No, that's right. Yes, I'm waiting for more revelations from the Treasurer. Try to use the forward gears when driving your car. Reversing when not necessary is confusing and uses much more fuel than necessary. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that sort of stuff. But back to the duopoly, I was talking to Mr. Konduras from Superbarn, and he told me something that surprised me and I found interesting. There's great concern in the United States about the enormous market share that goes to Walmart. But even Walmart only have 22%, whereas in this country, Coles and Woolies have anywhere between, 55 and 80%, depending on who you speak to.
Yeah, look, I think we heard quite convincingly throughout the recent ACCC inquiry into grocery pricing that it is pretty close to 80%. And, the rest of the OECD, the rest of the Western world seems to be across this. We're not. And this government went into the election recently promising to put downward pressure on pricing. Now, if this is the result of what they believe putting downward pressure on pricing is going to be, we're in a lot of trouble. And, we've seen the Assistant Treasurer come out in the recent weeks as well talking about the solution lies within opening up the foreign investment rules and letting places like Walmart come in. Now, that again is a naive and very yellow approach to a real serious problem that we've got in this country. I mean, that that in itself would send Australian dollars overseas, push food inflation up even higher, and send the future and the jobs from this industry over to Uncle Sam. No one wants to see that. No thinking person wants to see that.
So the point is, where the politicians could do something, either they don't know how to, they're ideologically frozen and can't move, or they just don't have the will. For example, if we had 80% penetration of the market by two firms in the United States, they would bring in their antitrust boys and break those organizations up. But we're not likely to see that happen here. That would make a difference.
It'd make a massive difference.
I know, but it's not going to happen. So meantime, we have Mr. Swan piddling about with these ridiculous suggestions. It's really adding insult to injury, isn't it?
It is insulting, and really for consumers and independent retailers alike, you've got to sit back and really wonder what on earth is steering this ship. I mean, if you look at the Coles and Woolworths duopoly, and I'll draw the analogy with media, the cross-media ownership laws, for example. I mean, this Coles Woolworths duopoly doesn't have just interest in food. They've got interests in alcohol, they've got interests in petrol, they've got interests in pokies. These people are controlling all these diverse sectors of their income streams across the community. I mean, they've only got to get the banks, and we know they've been pushing to get finance and home loans. Then they've got the lot. You're basically going to go to work for Coles and Woolworths.
And that's it. All right, Scott. Appreciate your observations. Thank you very much. Scott Driscoll, Retailers Association Executive Director.